The chair across from him was empty, and that was exactly how Daniel wanted it. He slid into the booth by the cafe window, the late afternoon sun cutting the room into golden shadow, and placed his phone face down on the table like a promise to himself. No calls, no conversations, no pretending he was fine. Today, he would eat alone, just like he had for months, and no one would notice the quiet man with tired eyes and a coffee he hadn't touched. Daniel had learned to choose places like this cafe because they were busy enough to make loneliness invisible. The hum of voices blurred into background noise, plates clinked, and the smell of toasted bread wrapped around him like something warm he didn't deserve. He ordered a simple meal, the kind you don't think too much about, and waited. Alone felt safer. Alone meant he didn't have to explain the empty ring finger, the long pauses when people asked about his life, or the heaviness that sat in his chest like an old ache that never fully healed. He had barely taken his first bite when a soft voice interrupted the silence he'd built so carefully. "Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you." Daniel looked up, irritation already forming, then froze. A woman stood beside his table, clutching the strap of a worn backpack. Her hair was pulled into a loose bun, strands escaping like she'd given up trying to tame them. Beside her stood a little boy, no more than 6, his eyes wide and cautious, his small fingers wrapped tightly around his mother's hand. She swallowed before continuing. "My son's hungry. The place is full, and they said it might be a while before a table opens. Would you mind if we stayed here just for a bit?" Daniel glanced around. Every table was occupied, chairs pressed close together. He felt the familiar instinct to retreat, to protect the fragile piece he'd carved out for himself. But then the boy's stomach betrayed him with a soft growl, and his cheeks flushed red as he looked down at the floor. "Sure," Daniel heard himself say, surprising even himself. "You can sit." The woman's shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you. I promise we won't be long." They slid into the booth carefully, as if afraid to take up too much space. The boy sat across from Daniel, his feet not quite reaching the floor, swinging nervously. Daniel returned to his plate, but the rhythm was broken now. He felt oddly aware of their presence, the way the woman kept glancing at the menu like it was a puzzle she wasn't sure she could solve. The waitress came by, and the woman ordered water and a single bowl of soup, her voice polite but hesitant. When the waitress left, the boy leaned forward, eyes locked on Daniel's plate. "That smells really good," he said quietly. Daniel smiled before he could stop himself. "It is. My mom makes soup too," the boy added. "When we have vegetables." The woman shot her son a gentle look. "Eli, it's okay," Daniel said quickly. "What kind of soup do you make?" "Whatever we can," she replied, a tired smile tugging at her lips. "Sometimes that means it's creative." Daniel nodded, understanding more than he let on. He remembered the years after his wife died, when dinner meant toast or cereal because cooking for one felt pointless. The house had been too quiet then, every room echoing with absence. He'd learned that hunger wasn't always about food. When the soup arrived, the boy leaned over it eagerly, blowing on the steam. The woman watched him with a mix of relief and guilt that Daniel recognized instantly. The kind of guilt that came from doing your best and still feeling like it wasn't enough. "Do you come here often?" Daniel asked, trying to sound casual. "Not usually," she said. But it was on the way, and Eli hadn't eaten since morning. Daniel frowned. "Long day." She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "Long year." The words hung between them. Daniel felt a strange pull, the kind that comes when someone says something you've been holding inside yourself for a long time. He nodded, slowly. "I get that." The boy finished half his soup and paused, spoon hovering. "Mom, can I have more?" She hesitated, then smiled brightly. "Let's see if there's enough." Daniel didn't think. He simply slid his plate toward the boy. "You can have some of mine." The woman's eyes widened. "Oh no, that's really not." "It's okay," Daniel insisted. "I ordered too much anyway." The boy looked up at his mother, seeking permission. When she nodded, he grinned and dug in, gratitude shining on his face in a way that made Daniel's chest tighten. The woman whispered a thank you, her voice trembling just enough to give her away. They talked after that. Not about anything important at first: school, favorite cartoons, how Eli wanted to be an astronaut and a firefighter and a baker all at once. Daniel found himself laughing, a real laugh, the kind he hadn't heard from himself in a long time. The sound startled him. Eventually, the woman grew quiet. She traced circles on the table with her finger, eyes distant. I didn't plan for things to be like this, she said suddenly. I had a job, a plan, and then, everything fell apart. Daniel waited. He knew better than to rush a confession. My husband left when Eli was 2, she continued. No warning. Just, gone. I've been working nights, cleaning offices. Some days it's enough. Some days it isn't. Daniel swallowed hard. He thought of the nights he'd sat alone, staring at a phone that never rang, wondering how life could change so completely without asking permission. You're doing great, he said quietly. She looked at him, surprised. You don't know that. I know you showed up, he replied. That counts for a lot. Her eyes filled with tears she tried desperately to hide. Eli noticed anyway. He reached across the table and placed his small hand over hers. It's okay, Mom, he said seriously. I'm not that hungry anymore. Daniel felt something crack open inside him. He thought about how he'd come here to disappear, to be alone with his grief, and how instead he'd been handed this moment, raw, imperfect, human. When the bill came, Daniel took it before the woman could reach for it. I can't let you do that, she said, panic flashing across her face. You're not, Daniel replied gently. I'm letting myself. She stared at him, then nodded, tears finally spilling over. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea what this means. I think I do, he said. They stood to leave, gathering their things. Eli waved at Daniel enthusiastically. Thank you for sharing your food, he said. You're really nice. Daniel smiled, feeling something warm settle in his chest. Anytime. As they walked toward the door, the woman turned back. My name's Sarah, she said. In case we ever meet again. I hope we do, Daniel replied. I'm Daniel. They left, the door closing softly behind them. The booth across from him was empty again, but it didn't feel the same. The silence wasn't heavy now. It was peaceful. Daniel sat there for a while after, staring out the window as the sun dipped lower in the sky. He realized he wasn't sad anymore, not completely. Something had shifted. He'd come in believing he had nothing left to give, that his loneliness was a wall too high for anyone to climb. But a simple request, a hungry child, and a shared meal had proven him wrong. He finished his coffee, warmed to the last sip, and stood up. As he walked out of the cafe, he felt lighter, as if the world had quietly reminded him of something he'd forgotten. That connection doesn't always come when you're ready for it. Sometimes it arrives uninvited, asking only for a little space at your table. And in making room for others, you often find that your own hunger, of the heart, of the soul, has been fed too.